I don't want people, even if I want something to be true, I don't want people running around repeating stuff that's just not true. So we've done it in the past with some of the election stuff. I'm going to do it again. There's a show, Bill Whittle, who I like often, right? Bill Whittle is going around pushing this idea. A lot of you might have seen it. He's citing actually this video from Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai or whatever. I'm not sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly.
I've seen that guy.
Right. And this guy's got his own video where he's doing this, and they're looking at election day data. And prior to the election, these are counties or precincts in Michigan. And he makes some claims. I'm not going to get into all the claims he makes, but he makes these claims that, like, look, the line does this, which it should stay flat, and then does this crazy thing. If you look at Trump voters, this is kind of a weird, funky chart, which is one of the problems. This chart is the red is like the baseline if you just vote all Republican on your ticket, and the blue, each blue dot is a precinct, and it represents people who chose something different off of the standard, right? And so you can see a lot of, and the x-axis here is like precincts with very little Republicans, and then over here is on the right is precincts with lots of Republicans. And so you can see precincts with very little Republicans, a lot of people voted for Trump but didn't vote the whole Republican ticket. And then as you move forward, the line, there's this knee in the line, and it bends down here, and then you see that people who otherwise vote Republican voted against. They didn't vote Trump, right? They voted against Trump, right? So he's using this to claim. I mean, Bill Whittle literally said something like, "There's no other explanation. There must be an algorithm, and it kicks in right here at 20% or whatever." This is just. I'm sorry, guys. This is crap. This is crap math. It's crap science. It's just, I don't have a better word for it. It's crap. First of all, this line fit is totally weird. Like, this is an arbitrary inflection point that whoever decided to do the line, they decided to make this knee in the curve. You could make a line like this.
I was going to say, why did they choose that?
Who knows?
How did they choose that?
Who knows?
Okay.
The other thing that they did was they're subtracting percentage points of differently sized populations, which you can't do. And the third thing that they did, which is the most egregious, they didn't plot this for Biden. Because if you do, you get the exact same freaking graph. So any claims you're making about Trump, you got to make about Biden, because you get the same thing when you plot with Biden. So this is just crap math. Don't go around saying that this, and this guy's the guy who he's citing has a PhD, I think, from MIT, but I guess he doesn't know basic stats. So don't go pushing this stuff. This is not correct. There's a guy whose channel I love that you can watch if you're a math nerd, Matt Parker. I don't know where he stands politically. It doesn't matter. It's called Stand Up Math. He explains the scatter plots. He explains why they don't. He does a great job explaining why they don't make any sense. He also reminded me about, I watched his Benford's Law one, and this was great. I want to clarify something we said about Benford's Law previously, because Benford's Law was one of those things that the argument kind of made sense, but yeah, I wasn't really sure about it. He explains correctly, and now everything makes sense to me. So I really like this guy. Benford's Law requires data sets that span multiple orders of magnitude, and these do not. So you're not going to get Benford's Law to show up on this. And the reason that they don't span multiple orders of magnitude. And so, by the way, if you think about it that way, it actually Benford's Law starts making intuitive sense. Why digits show up different? Because you have to span orders of magnitude, so you get the leading digits. You can see why it would happen. But in the voting data, most of the precincts, like the majority of the precincts, are about the same size. So all their data is between like 100 and 1,000 votes. So there's no span of orders of magnitude. You don't end up with Benford's Law. It's not a good analysis to look for erroneous activity. So look, we reported all this stuff because people were talking about it, and we talked about it. And And Benford's law is a thing, and it is a weird thing, and it is something that you can use to detect anomalies and things. But the requirement is you need to span orders of magnitude. Someone in chat wrote, "It's not crap. He's an MIT instructor." That doesn't matter. He's retarded. It doesn't matter that he's an MIT instructor. That is argument from authority. You can't say, I'm an MIT instructor, therefore my math is right. His math is not right. He's wrong. He's wrong. He's wrong. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. You can't show the Trump data and then not to bother to do the Biden data, which looks exactly the same, and then say, well, I'm an MIT professor. It doesn't matter who you are. He didn't even show the other side of the data. So look.
By the way, I just want to say to that point, I didn't see that comment, but yeah, you can't appeal to authority, especially if you don't like when people who disagree with you appeal to authority, and they do that all the time. You know, social justice people are always appealing to authority. Look at my credentials. Look at my school. I studied this. I majored in this. And it's like, that doesn't really matter. Like, I lend some weight to authority, but it's not the be all end all. It doesn't substitute for a good argument. If your math is wrong, your math is wrong.
Look, I took his thing seriously because he was an MIT professor.
Right.
That's why I watched it. So I did take that into account. But it doesn't, like, you don't just like, that's not how this works. And
somebody said maybe that person was joking.
Oh. Oh, sorry. If they were joking, I apologize. Sometimes I just don't get, sometimes I'm retarded about.
He was kidding.
He was kidding, so I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, either way, it was good to make that point that you can't just look at credentials because, you know, we all give weight to them. And I think you should give it a certain amount of weight, but you don't let them rule out other evidence. Like, you know, if somebody has a bad argument, I don't care what school they went to or what their degree is, right? If someone is a bully, I don't care what they.
Yeah, and one of the things we try and do on this show, I know a lot of people on the left look at this and think that we're alt-right, you know, MAGA people all day long. We're just trying to be honest. Like, yeah, I have my opinions. Carrie has her opinions. We're pretty clear about what our opinions are. I think we have a perspective, but I'm not, you know, we're not here to make you feel good about stuff that you've read online. Like, this is wrong. So don't go repeating.
Well, here, just to put this out there, because I've stated it in a previous video, but I absolutely believe there was fraud. Like, in my gut.
In my gut, I think that too, yes.
Yeah, I absolutely believe it. There's no way. I just, the way that it happened, you know, going to bed saying like, oh, he's got to make up almost 1 million votes in Pennsylvania. Like, he was trailing by 700,000 and somehow he did. And the way that the mail-in voting, I mean, that was a great, like, never let a crisis go to waste, right? Like, that's a great opportunity. And then, my gut looks at Trump got more votes than Obama got during his landslide victory. And I remember the enthusiasm for Obama. I voted for him twice. I was part of that enthusiasm. I just don't believe for a second that they want us to believe that Biden got more votes than that, more votes than Trump and Obama. More than Obama got during his, I just don't believe that. So that's just my gut. I don't have evidence for it, but I think your point, Carter, is just because you believe something is true in your gut, you shouldn't cherry pick evidence when that evidence is not a good argument. Like somebody said in the chat, a bad argument is worse than no argument. So if you're quoting something like a study like that turns out where, you know, the math isn't good, that's not going to help you. So just be careful what you're pointing to.
Yeah, and I have no problem saying, in my gut, do I feel like there was election fraud? Yes, I do feel that way. And I am very uncomfortable about mail-in votes because they are clearly a vector for massive fraud. Clearly. That's not even that you can make an argument. That's clear. It's easier to commit voter fraud through mail-in ballots, obviously. And this election had twice as many mail-in ballots. So yeah, do I feel great about it? No. But that's not an argument, and it doesn't mean that everyone who's on the side of this versus election fraud, it doesn't mean all their arguments are good either.
Right.
If there are good arguments for election fraud, like I've seen a few examples of things that are like, oh, that should be investigated. This should be looked at. That's interesting. Maybe there's something there. But it doesn't mean everyone who says anything is automatically right just because they happen to agree with it. So,
as you've told me, in personal situations, pay attention to your gut, but verify with evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I really like this. I really like this Matt Parker dude, the math guy. But I'm a nerd. But if you're a nerd and like math, go listen to him.
Why don't you subscribe to him then?
I guess I should. Here. Done. I subscribed.
Yeah.
Okay. And actually, what it's gonna screw him up because it's gonna show him that Unsafe Space subscribed to him, and maybe he'll get some hate that we're subscribing.